Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we are currently in the rather unenviable position of having this redesign done, but not having any of it update ever. So there's that. So, we are going to need a little bit of information in here, for sure. So rather than just having the info panel field, we are going to, for sure, be needing this vehicle type field. So we'll call this vehicle type field. And then we're going to need a public, what did I call it? I called it a progress bar. That's what I called it. Okay, so we're going to need a reference to all of the progress bars in here, 4 of them. So we'll have the upkeep, and actually, there we go. Yeah, that's great that you added KSP to windowed borderless gaming. That was last night. Okay, there we go. That's better. So, let's see here. Where was I? Upkeep bar. That's where I was. No, not upkeep. Upkeep. There we go. Upkeep bar. We will need a sorting bar. We will need a loading bar. And we will need a capacity bar. The capacity bar isn't going to update quite as frequently as everything else, so there is that. Okay, so let's recompile this and hop in here and make sure to hook all of that up. We've got our interaction panel, we've got our info panel. Okay, so our info panel field is currently set. Hang on, this didn't compile. Yes. That's because I forgot to change this. For right now, this is completely irrelevant, so I'm just going to comment out all of this, because this is not something we are doing anymore. Okay. So, let's see here. We now need our vehicle name field, which I guess is vehicle type text. And then we need our progress bars. So this one is our upkeep bar, and I'm going to just go through and name these. Upkeep bar. This one will be the sorting bar. This one will be the loading bar. And then this one will be the capacity bar. There we go. I'm actually also going to rename this to what we called this before, which was the vehicle type field rather than vehicle type text. It's not really important, but it's fine. So we'll put in the upkeep bar, we'll put in the sorting bar, we'll put in the loading bar, and we will put in the capacity bar. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have that all hooked up, we can very easily call our various, what am I thinking? Call our various update types. That's what I'm thinking. So we've got our building type building. I think we go ahead and change that to building, remove the .type call here. And then when we do this here, we go to building.type. And the same thing here, building.type. There we go. Perfect. So now we have a reference to the building, and in the building, we're going to need a couple of things. So let's head on in here, and we can already see that we've got on day tick, on hour tick, on month tick, and on year tick. I want to avoid doing an update here. So these are currently set up on per month bases on here, but that's probably not going to be the case ultimately. How did we set it up in the balance script, the building balance? Building balance does not appear to be open. That's weird. Okay, well, we'll hop down into the core here, which I believe is where it is. Balance. Here we go. Okay. Well, this is the regular balance here. But yeah, this is upkeep cost per month. This is in packages per hour. And this is in meters cubed per hour. So these are actually in per hour. Whereas the upkeep is per month. Okay, but we can still do this on the hourly tick. But I think we do need a private void update. Because I want this to update a little bit more smoothly, is the thing. So, we're going to need a couple of things here. We're going to need upkeep, sorting, loading, and capacity. So, public int capacity. That's going to be an integer, and then our progress bars are going to be floats. So we're going to need a public float upkeep progress. Because we're going to be charging this throughout the month, we're not going to be charging it on the month tick. So realistically, these things may or may not actually be used, but we'll keep them for now. We may change this later on. But for right now, we will have an upkeep progress, we will have a public float, this will be, and actually, yeah, okay, I'm just trying to think about how I want to do this. And the answer is I'm not entirely sure yet, but we're going to have a sorting progress, and these are going to be equal to 0 to start with. Capacity equals 0. We'll also need a public int max capacity. That will probably be grabbed in the start. So we will say something along the lines of manager, or rather of max capacity equals manager dot business.balance. No. This is the time manager? Yeah, this is the time manager. Okay, that's a little bit awkward. Okay. Quick question. When we're building the buildings, are we only changing the building type? Like when we build and destroy buildings? I don't actually know that. Let's head into our building hex and check real quick. So when we click on it in our interaction modes, yeah, we don't destroy the building object. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. So, yeah. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So we're going to need to get our max capacity at some point. But that's something that we can do at a later date. And then the thing is, the sorting and the loading, which we don't currently have, so let's do public float loading progress equals 0f. So the thing here is, I want it, when you have it selected, to update this every frame. When you don't have it selected, I want it to only update in these on ticks. Now, all we have access to right now is the time manager. Does the time manager have a reference to anything? Anything useful at all? The answer is it doesn't. Do we want it to? It would sure be useful. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do a public business business so that the time manager has a reference to the business at least. And then we'll head on into our scripts as that compiles up. And then the time manager will have a reference to the business. There we go. Okay. So now we've got that. And then the question is, the building doesn't know where it is. So that's a thing. Do we have an easy way to make it know where it is? Do we need it to know where it is? I think we do need to know where it is. Just so that we can get a reference to the actual game object hex for like pathfinding and things like that. So I think we're going to need a public int3, no, not int2, int3 location. And that will need to be set when we actually create the building class. So that would be in the world hex, correct? I believe so. Yes, right here. So, we've got a reference to the biome hex here. Do we have a reference to the world hex? Is that the hex index? I don't remember. Oh man. I also just woke up, so there is that. I'm reasonably certain the index of current hex. That gets us the building index. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I'm reasonably certain we can do it this way. So we would then do something like biome hexes I dot buildings. We don't have a reference to this. Okay, we're gonna need to do this slightly differently. Building new building equals, and we're going to do this. So we create a new instance of a building. Now we have a reference to it. And then we say dot add new building. And then we have a reference to it so that we can mess with it like this. New building dot location equals new int3. And this would be world hex, biome hex, building hex. So, this would simply be hex index, I think. This would definitely be I for the biome hex. And then the building index would be biome hexes I dot buildings dot index of new building. Like that. Do we need a global namespace here? Why did it add that? I don't think we need that. Okay. So that should theoretically give us the location, assuming I remember correctly on this. These two are definitely correct. The world hex may or may not be correct, but I'm pretty sure it is. So, then in the building, we now know the location. That's going to be useful for pathfinding and things like that later on. But for right now, we're going to need to check to see if this building is the one selected. And that's actually going to be useful here as well, because when we do our business, our selected hex is in int3. So, if business, if manager.business.selected hex, no, not selected construction, selected hex equals location, then we update the window every frame. Otherwise, or rather, we want to update our progress every frame. Okay, something kind of like that. So, then the question is, well, on our tick, we definitely want to, like, on hour and on month tick, I think we only want to do this in on hour tick. So we want to do our upkeep progress if not selected. In fact, we want to do everything here if not selected. So if manager.business.selected hex is not equal to location, we will do it in the hour tick so that we're not doing this every frame in every building, because that would be kind of insane. Even just calling this every frame might not be what we're looking for. That said, this is a non-mono behavior. So this actually won't work. We're going to have to get rid of that update, and we're going to have to do this in on hour tick, which means we get rid of this as well. I forgot that this wasn't a mono behavior. Okay, so in on hour tick then, what we need to do is we need a minute tick, don't we? We do. I want to do this on the lowest scale that we can, and the lowest scale that we simulate is the minute. So when we increment the minute here, then we want to on minute tick, like that. So we want to then implement ourselves an on minute tick. So public void on minute tick. This is going to be basically a carbon copy of all of the other ones. For int I equals 0, I is less than 2's.count, I++, 2's I dot on minute tick. And that's not implemented. We'll have to do that. For int I equals 0. What the? Why did you forget where I was, Visual Studio? I is less than time aware non-MB dot count, I++. And this is going to be time aware non-MB I dot on minute tick. No, not on month tick, on minute tick. There we go. And of course, again, that's not implemented. So we're going to need time aware object right here. Public virtual void on minute tick. There we go. And we are going to need time aware object non-mono behavior, which does not appear to be open. Weird. Okay, time aware object here. Oh no, it's in the same script. That's right. I forgot about that. Public virtual void on minute tick. There we go. Okay, so now when we are in the building and we are doing on minute tick, public override void on minute tick. We're not going to call base.onMinuteTick. The only thing we're going to do here is we're going to progress our sorting and our loading based on something. And I'm not sure what yet. We can base it on the balance variable, but that isn't going to take into account any potential upgrades. So that's something we're going to have to consider. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here. And next episode, we'll figure out how exactly we want to handle that. See you all then.